Well, Hezbollah has declared its conflict with Israel is now an open-ended battle of reckoning as both sides push each other closer to all-out war. The Lebanese militant group has launched a massive barrage of rockets deep into Israeli territory, vowing further retaliation for a deadly Israeli airstrike on a building in Lebanon's capital last week.
Israel says that attack killed 16 Hezbollah operatives and the death toll has now climbed to more than 50, with many civilians among those killed. Israel too is warning it'll respond to any further aggression. Our Middle East correspondent Allyson Horn has the latest from northern Israel.
Well, this is a site in the middle of the road where a Hezbollah rocket has hit in this heavily residential area. You can see the impact that it's had on the surrounding buildings. This one here has caught fire and will now need to be demolished. But it's not just the immediate surroundings that have been impacted. For example, here across the road, you can see this car has been pockmarked by the shrapnel from the impact. Its windscreen is smashed. As with this building, you can see on the outside, on the facade, all of the marks of the shrapnel. The windows have been completely blown out.
It was a big boom. All of the house almost is gone. All my stomach is turning around. I'm very scared what happened. I don't know what to do with the home. I don't know what to do with myself.
So we're about 50 kilometres south of the Lebanon border. This area has been targeted by about 100 Hezbollah rockets in the last few hours. Hezbollah says attacks like this one are in retaliation for what has been a deadly week in Lebanon, where Israel conducted a massive airstrike on a building in Beirut that has killed dozens of people, including many civilians, women and children. Some bodies are still buried under the rubble there.
I'm waiting for my parents, my nephew, grandpa, all there was in this building. Maybe sometime we lie in ourselves, we said maybe they are alive or not, but I don't think so. If there is a word more than angry, yes, of course I'm angry.
Residents here in Israel and on the other side of the border in Lebanon both say that they are fearful and in shock and worried that this will escalate further into a full-out war.
Well, US President candidate Donald Trump says he won't run for office again if he loses November's election. The Republican candidate faces a tight race against his Democratic rival Kamala Harris. Polls are showing the two neck and neck in key battleground states.
New sexual consent laws implementing an affirmative model of consent come into force in Queensland today. The changes also more clearly outline situations where consent for sexual activity can't be given, such as circumstances of coercion or intimidation. It's now also a criminal offence to secretly remove or tamper with a condom during sex, known as stealthing, which carries a maximum penalty of life in prison.
South Australia's ambulance service says it's trying to create a safer working environment for paramedics. A report made to Safe Work SA last month says paramedics are working 12-hour shifts without a break and being forced into overtime due to ramping. The report also shows exposure of trauma and high job demands puts paramedics at risk of developing psychological issues.
Australian police are working with Italian authorities to extradite a man who was arrested in Rome over the alleged murders of two Melbourne women more than 40 years ago. Suzanne Armstrong and Susan Bartlett were found dead with multiple stab wounds at their home in Easey Street, Collingwood in 1977. Ms Armstrong's 16-month-old son was found unharmed in his cot. Police say investigators won't travel to Rome for at least another month.
It could soon become easier for people with pets in New South Wales to find a rental property. Proposed changes to the state's rental laws would require landlords to have a valid reason to refuse a tenant with a pet, such as the animal being in breach of local government regulations. Landlords are currently allowed to decide whether a tenant can keep a pet on their property without giving a reason, unless it's an assistance animal.
The story of the day, we can't get enough of this. A Melbourne penguin has become an internet sensation, and it's not hard to see why. Pesto, the king penguin, is just a baby. Can you believe it? It's only 9 months old, but he already weighs more than both his parents combined. At 21 kilos, Pesto is Melbourne Aquarium's largest chick ever, eating as many as 25 fish a day. And stay tuned, because we're going to speak to Pesto's keepers at the aquarium later this hour. Cannot wait.
We're obsessed with him.